Hello guys, welcome back to my channel PR Classroom 2.0. I'm going to discuss PR and financial services and will try to understand how the experts are dealing with such a situation. COVID-19 crisis has brought the world to a standstill. Nobody I know in my circle have ever seen such a crisis that life will be locked. Who can imagine no trains are running in Mumbai for almost 4 months? Aviation, hospitality, and many such industries are impacted badly and waiting to start. However, amongst a few sectors that had no choice than to serve its customer and people of India are healthcare and financial services. In this video, we will be mainly talking about the financial sector. Despite the lockdown, the banks, general insurance companies, etc. were determined to provide the services to its. In a situation when you work with the limited bandwidth and resources, it becomes crucial to have a robust communication plan in place to avoid any kind of distrust between the brands and its customers. Let us first understand what is financial PR. Professionals cite the opinion of the Public Relations Society of America, whose members define PR in finance as the field within public relations that influences the mutual understanding between shareholders and investors by disseminating informations covering the general financial status and development potential of a particular company, and includes as one of its primary goals improving relations between corporation and their shareholders. In simple language, is a section of a public relation department that primarily focus on public relations concerning financials investment matter. Communications in COVID-19 time and how PR experts are dealing with such a situation. We have asked three important questions on financials public relations to Alethea Fernandez, Associate Vice President, MSL Group. Let's check out and understand the role of PR professionals in a tested environment.
Changed in the last 4 months. The pandemic, the lockdown has radically and quite dramatically altered our lives. Everything that you planned for has now gone out the window, and that is pretty much the truth for every business, every CXO, every communications practitioner out there. Coming specifically to financial services, the sector itself is a massive ecosystem, and while being an essential service in itself, the sector is crucial to the economy in itself. The sector has been, anyway going through a slump even before the pandemic could hit, but has been very quick to respond to businesses and to consumers. So on one hand, we're dealing with the safeguarding reputation during what could be possibly the biggest recession in times to come. At a very corporate level, you're dealing with sensitive issues like say business continuity or funding or lack of funding or illiquidity and defaults that are happening at some levels, including layoffs. And then you're coupled with low consumption patterns, lower consumer confidence, lower spends that are happening, investments which are being cut off because people are unable to pay EMIs or their mutual fund investments or insurance, buy insurance. The second most important thing is communicating with stakeholders. I've seen a direct shift in the messages of assurance, customer centricity, trying to communicate to every consumer out there saying that we are with you, because remember, the customer today is more than demanding, and more so because out of fear and paranoia on the safety of his investments, funds, deposits. So response management, solutions and service levels are expected to be at optimum levels. Brand loyalty is one thing. We've seen a shift towards service loyalty, and people will remember brands for really the impeccable service. And it is a great shift in behavioral patterns when it comes to savings and investments. I think people have started to introspect and look more actively at asset allocation, digital payments, money management, professional advice, which they wouldn't have. It's been very difficult to get penetration levels into the sector, quickly, and that's happened because of the pandemic. But storytelling and product services and corporate reputation in this point has, been thrown another, challenge with the changes in media landscape. So it's challenged by, traditional mediums. Print went newspapers were no longer available. At some point, online media became important. Consumption patterns have altered as well. People started becoming more dependent on online media, social media, WhatsApp for news. And it's been a tricky time and challenging because really control over messaging and veracity of the news itself has been a key, challenge in this point in time. The pandemic and the ensuing events has thrown a curveball. It's a crisis like no other, which has left people untethered and disoriented. The accompanying economic downturn is causing widespread terror, panic, and decisions must be taken under this uncertain times. Panic, as you know, can give rise to knee-jerk reactions. So really I will just outline three challenges which I've faced and I continue to kind of just keep in mind is one, the ability to stay grounded. And I think it's important for us to stay grounded with a true sense of purpose and remain true to our identity. And this rings true for us as communicators and as businesses. We've had half of the year amidst chaos and uncertainty. While everyone speaks of the new normal, none of us actually know what the new normal looks like or what the future will hold. We're sort of living in a limbo, not knowing how long to prepare for and what will come next. And the crisis really has changed how we all fundamentally operate. As communicators, the real challenge what we're dealing with is a situation where there is no real experience, there is no case studies to fall back on. What worked in the past may not work now. The dynamics have changed and are no longer constant. So we have to rethink of strategies and continuously evolve and create newer ways of communicating effectively. And a lot of it will need to be led cognitively and intuitively. None of our stakeholders, have, CXOs or clients have the luxury of piloting or, have the margin of error, so to say. So the strategy or execution that we give has to be razor sharp and flawless. The second big challenge that I see us grappling with is getting lost in the search of the new normal. So we see companies and we see people operate in a survival mode, with a let's wait for this year to get over, or 2020 is a washout mentality. But what's critical right now is to start rebuilding and start rebooting. Because like it or not, brand purpose is, a narrative, as we like to say it, cannot be thrown into the corner. Or in a PowerPoint presentation or in a strategy document that no one is currently seeing. And how we communicate this brand purpose is very important right now, without being seen as a profit pandering company in the midst of a human crisis. So it is really this grounding quality of brand purpose which is coupled with an in-depth understanding of what the consumers want and need that will minimize this panic and guide us and communicators and businesses through the toughest of times. The last challenge I want to outline is the element of human connection itself, and it's now being challenged with by screen time. It feels very impersonal, Zoom meetings or laptop, just speaking over a Zoom call or Teams call. I think the importance to infuse human connections even through technology is going to be a huge challenge to overcome. The line between over communication and under communication is also a fine one. So stick to the basics, understand human needs. We need to understand the relevancy of the messages of what we're communicating. Noise with initiatives is not effective. So we need to kind of keep that into mind. Basics are always going to be stay the same, right? Whether it's financial services or say hospitality or real estate, is one to always be well read of what's happening in the sector. You might not be a whiz kid and understand balance sheets and numbers, I think, but reading a lot of it and understanding the sector and understanding as well as your client or better than your client is very, very important. But 4 or 5 basics is one, always continue to be curious, always have the passion to learn, More importantly is to question everything, question the brief, question your leader, question your client. I think because only then will you have answers to what you can deliver. Comprehension is very, very important. What the client tells you, what needs to be done, what the media is telling you, and because you're an important cog in the entire machine. So that's going to be important, and of course then navigate that complexity, and very, very important for every practitioner out there is to have that fortitude and that patience, because and that resilience that I would like to call is to be a long-term player or communicator if you're really serious.